So here are a couple examples of, this is on newspaper or recycled paper, and I've painted the background with mixed with rabbit skin glue and red earth pigment, and then on top of that I have gouache. So this is all a water-based piece. Now this piece is, and I painted my recycled paper. I first did a red acrylic wash on it and then a white acrylic wash over that, just so I had a little life in the background. And then I went in with acrylic to paint the tree, and then came on top of that with an oil pastel to start drawing. So oil can always go on top of water-based mediums. Also, this piece was composed of painted newspaper. So first, I painted this newspaper in huge sheets and then glued them together, and then drew on top of that. Acrylic receives colored pencil and pastels so well. It loves it. Pastels and colored pencils sit so well on top of acrylic paint, I personally find. So what I first did here was, and I went into the rendering with colored pencils, layers of colored pencils, different layers of tone. And then I started going on top of that, which theoretically you don't want to put acrylic on top of colored pencil because it's water-based over oil, but I kind of just went for it. A lot of mixed media is experimentation, as I was saying. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I am starting to come in here with paint, even light washed acrylic paint. The background is a paint that I mixed with a strong acrylic binder and several different brown and red pigments. And this is also a newspaper cutout of acrylic. So this is an example of a mixed media piece. Here's another example of a mixed media piece. So now here I had a store-bought wooden canvas, wood panel, and then this green on here. First I did my drawing in pencil, and then this green here is rabbit skin glue mixed with pigments. This lime yellow here is watercolor. These two figures are drawings on newspaper. What I first did was an ink wash to get the shape of the figures, and then I went into it rendering with colored pencil. And I even used a couple Neocolor pastels. Then I pasted that on top of my water-based mediums, my rabbit skin glue and my watercolor. And after it dried, I came back in here and I used a white China marker, which is essentially a wax marker. And I could have just as easily have used an oil pastel over these mediums. One other thing I want to show you is you can also paint in acrylic. I have a friend, this brilliant landscape painter, who does these elaborate paintings of huge landscapes, and they're massive. And I went to visit her studio, and she also uses a type of, I'm not sure what this material is, but she essentially builds layers on top of her canvas to give some sculptural quality to it. It's almost like paint with sand in it. Anyhow, she does her whole base of her paintings to find the colors that she wants to use in acrylic, and then on top of that, she paints oil. So this is an acrylic painting that I've just begun coming in with oil. Oil gives you this beautiful glossy finish. Just think of the way that oil looks when you're cooking with it. It's so alive, it's so reflective. Oil is gorgeous. Acrylic is essentially plastic, so it can often feel quite flat. So yeah, oil is a wonderful paint to use on top of acrylic. And one last piece I'll show you is, here's another, similar to the way that I put together these pieces. There's a lot of collage happening in here, but this reminds me a little bit of a William Kentridge approach. What is so exciting about mixed media is that it just kind of feels like there's never an end. You can always keep building on top of it, and the work is, you can always just keep being in dialogue with that piece. So like, I came in, I put my, I glued my cutouts onto this panel, and then I started painting it with, you could use any paint really. Here I use rabbit skin glue mixed with several different pigments. And then I've got acrylic paint in here. I've got my ink wash, which was my foundation that I'm building on top of now. And I'll probably come in here with some colored pencils and start rendering this face, similar to how I did here. And so it can be really exciting when you kind of predetermine, I'm gonna break this piece up in this way. I'm going to have all of my skin tones rendered in watercolor, perhaps you want to do colored pencil or a pastel, and then the whole background is going to be acrylic paint. You know, you can really play with layers. Yeah, it's all about experimentation and learning your mediums. Another great tip is, if you are working in multiple media, mediums have different ways of receiving light. They have different ways of reflecting in a room. And so if you make yourself some color charts sampling your different mediums. So here I have my split primary color charts for acrylic. And now I know when I'm working on a piece what kind of an effect it's gonna have if I come in with not just like green, but like what medium of green. Perhaps I want to do a wax oil pastel. I should have a similar chart where I've made marks of all of my different tones and colors. And if you have these charts, you can, as you're composing a piece, you can bring them in and start to think, okay, I think I do want that kind of an effect over here with this medium. Yeah, these charts can be a real friend to you.